In this video, I'm going to show you my Audacity scripture recording routine. So let's get started. So when I get a project, one of the first things I do is I set up my folder system here. So here is where I'm going to put all my Audacity projects. So they're going to go in here. And from my previous videos, you know, I only like having folders that are full, that have something. I don't have empty folders. This is empty right now, but I'm going to fill it. And then when I'm done with Matthew and I'm going to do Mark or something like that, then I'll bring the Mark folder in here and I'll bring the folders in as I need them. Here in the originals, that's empty. And that's where I'm going to put my original waves. I'm going to put my master flags in here. I'm going to put my labels all in here. And then this is where it's going to export the macro. So this won't be here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And Audacity will automatically make it and put it here. And then I have my OGGs. And this is for the naming. So I want to be able to name them consistently the same. And this keeps from making mistakes. Because once, you know, you're on week 6, it's Friday, you have a headache, you might type something in wrong, and this will keep you from making those mistakes. So I take this and I'm going to rename these so it's correct. I don't want the XX at the beginning, so I'm going to do that with bulk rename utility, and the link for that is down below. So I have the software open here, and so I find it's easier if you grab the folder and drag the folder into there. And here I have the files, and then I Control A, and I'm going to replace the XXX with ENG for English. I just made something up, but you'd use the proper ethnocode here. Now I'm going to use these to name my Audacity projects. So I renamed them, and now if you go into this folder here, they all have the ENG on the beginning. I also want to make a few changes in Audacity for each project. This was not in my original setups because for projects it's different. So I'll Control P. And then I'm going to go to directories. And here I'm going to, when I'm exporting the labels, it's going to be using the export. So I'm going to choose that, and I can browse, and I choose to put it in my Audacity and my 3 label folders. And then here with the macro outputs, I'll make the path to my Audacity folder here, and it will automatically create the folder to put the Audacity exports into. So when you take Audacity, I'm going to close it because I'm going to open it in a different way. Now I come back to my folders, and I'm going to take them and open it up here. I will double click on it and it'll open an Audacity. And if it doesn't open Audacity, you'll need to assign it to do that. And so there it is. And it named you might not be able to see it here. Let me bring it down. It named the project, this right here. Now it's not saved, but the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to here and I'm going to go to name, and I'm going to copy that name, Control C. And then I'm going to start my label track. I'm going to hit B, and I'm going to name my label track that also. Control V, and it goes down, and I can remove that label or not, but now it's named properly, the track. So now I'm going to save the project, so I'm going to hit S. Now I come into my Audacity project, and I'm going to go into Audacity and go into here, and it's named properly, and I hit that, and now I can actually take this. I'm not going to delete the track. I'm going to take that and delete it. And now I'm ready to do recording. So everything's named correctly, and I don't have to worry about mistakes. Like I said, when it gets late and it's, you know, you can make mistakes there. So now I'm ready to start. So I can go at the beginning here, and if I want to, now you have to hit the certain shortcuts that you have here. It's the shortcut for putting down labels and Audacity is different when you're recording and when the playhead is stopped. And then I'm going to just start recording. I'm going to tell the person, I'm going to set everything up, my levels and everything, and I'm ready to do the recording. So I hit my R, which is record append, and it's going to put a label down here so I know what the pre-roll is. Matthew chapter 1. Okay, so I have that. And now I see that this is the pre-roll here. And so I can do it now or later. Sometimes you're moving along really quickly and you're not going to clean the pre-rolls up until later, but I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to make sure I go over so that label goes away. And now I'm going to go in and I want to put in 2 seconds of silence. So you can see down here, this is where it tells what the length is. So I come down here, and that's about 2 seconds of silence right there. It's close enough. So I can start here, and I want to put in that I have section head. So I'm going to put in here my label. I'm going to S1 and I'm going to hit enter. And I want to start here. So I'm going to put my cursor right here so I know that this is when I delete the pre-roll, that it will be at the proper location. So I don't know what the section head from Matthew 1 is. I think it's genealogy of Jesus. So the genealogy of Jesus. And so then I need to get out, and I will leave that here for right now. And so then I want to go about 1.5 seconds, so I can come back here, and you can take this guy, and you can drag it if you want to, or you can delete it. Let's take it and use my little trick here. I find it harder dragging that there, so I want to go here, and I want to put in verse 1, so B, verse 1, and I want to go 1.5 seconds out. Oh, I need to move this guy back. So I need to start right about here. So I can highlight him, and now I can use my delete and record. Now this is verse 1. We're recording it here, and we can either look at my levels. I'm going around 12. I have gone up to 6, but that's the levels that I want when I'm recording. Okay, and so they made a mistake, and we want to start recording here. I like keeping the spacing in, that, if they're reading well and they're doing good spacing. And so now I know that I can take this off, and then when I bring it in, I can just trim to the beginning and the spacing will be correct. So I'm going to take that, highlight it. I put an X in there and hit enter. I'm not used to doing it this way with the new Audacity. So we do that, and we stop, and we record along. And so let's say that we're going to start here, and we're going to have verse 2. And so now I want to start here. I can be back here and click, and it's going to append to the end here. So that's kind of nice when you go back and you're editing something. You can just go ahead and hit the R, and it'll just start recording where it should be. So now we're going to do verse 2. And as verse 2 is going along, I want to add a label. So this is going to be verse 3. And so verse 3 goes in there, and it's going really well, and they're reading well. And then we're going to put verse 4 in and continue on. Oh, they made a mistake. Okay, let's redo that right there. And we're going to hit the D, and it's going to drop down my marker here, label. And so they record here, and they make a mistake right away. So we're going to stop. Okay. And then I can just highlight that there, and I can just hit D again. And now they're going to record again. And you notice that there happens to be 2 labels. That's okay. You're going to be able to delete those later on. So now that's good. And we can just continue on recording. And then I can come back and clean up. And so let's say that was a noise that we didn't want. And so you can come here and go and make sure you get enough right here. And if you don't, you can just delete it. Okay, we got those. And then we come to here, and we can go to there. We delete that, and that goes away. So when you're doing your checking, you're looking for these stray guys without verse numbers in it, or a section head number in it. So you go there, and you can take that guy, and you delete that. And then you take it, and you have the whole project. Oh, there's one right there, and you go, oh, I forgot to fix that one up. So see, you can easily see it. Now, when you have a big, long project, it's a little bit harder. And I'll show you a big, long project here that we've been working on before. But that's how I kind of go through that. And then I add 2 seconds to the end, at least 2 seconds. And then I put a marker here at the end, which is called end. You don't have to do that, but when you want to do spans, that's very helpful to have that. So this is how I do the recording, and you just move along, plot right along. And now I'm going to show you my next steps. So here's the project, and a lot of this, if you've watched my macros, will be very similar, but I'm going to show you how I go through the whole process here. So I get done. So the next thing I want to do is I want to check my verses. So I actually zoom in here. So I'm zoomed in here, and then I have the C here, and I can click in here, and then when I hit the tab, it's going to jump to this marker here. So I can see that's right. Then it's going to jump to here. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I just work my way down, and I'm counting. And then when I get to a section head also, I can count that also. And so I just work my way along. And if I have to go back, you hold the shift and hit tab, and you'll go back. Hold shift tab, and then you just move along here, and I make sure that I have all my markers here, and I'm checking. And if there's missing a marker, then I go in. Labels, they're called label in Audacity. They're called markers in Reaper. So that's why that mistake all the time. So my labels, and so I have all my labels here. Now, after I check the verses, I check the level to make sure that it's the same. Okay, this is a little bit high, but the compressor and limiter will get those. But sometimes this is really low and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So you need to go in there and maybe highlight this, and then you go into the plugins and you go to amplify it, and you might want to amplify, by 3 dBs or something like that, and bring it up. So now that made it too high. So say this was the situation and go, oh, what happened there? That whole thing is high. So I might go to here and say, how low do we need to go it? So I can go to amplify, effects, amplify, and then I say I'm going to guess, and I'm going to bring it down 3 dBs. And that looks good. So I make sure that it's somewhat level before I do my mastering. So, if I wanted to, I can go in here, but I just know from experience that the compressor and leveler will take care of that. So now I have this here, and now I want to have the people proof it. And so you saw this before, but we're going to do it again. I can go in here and I can find some noise, and I want to listen to this noise here, see if it's okay. Okay, so I'm going there, and then I'm going to go to Effects, Noise Reduction, get Profile, and then I can do my shortcut to make the master. So I do that, and it's going to duplicate it, and now it's going to master it. And now it's done, and it's muted here, and we're going to start at the beginning here, and then we're going to listen to it back. I'm going to pull the volume down so you don't get blasted at home here.
Matayo pina 1. Yesu kana kurutuwao. Teinata Yesu Kristo kana kurutuwao.
Okay, and let's say we play along and they say that there's a mistake here. We did this before, but I'm going to take it and I'm going to do Shift R, and it's going to mute everything, and we're going to record again. So now I'm recording where the mistake is. And let's say they made a mistake there. So you can go ahead and double click on that and hit the D, and it will put a label down here, but we can delete that. Now we want to make the correction again here. And it's like, no, we don't like that. So let's go ahead and do it again. Now this is the correct correction. And let's say that we like that. So we take that and we cut it and we do it to the original. So we're going to go up here, Control V, and paste in the original. And you saw, let me go back. You see that everything moves behind it, so it stays in sync. So I'm going to paste it. And now I'm going to delete this guy, and I'm going to solo this guy. And I want them to hear it. It's not going to be at the right levels and everything, but hopefully we're not clipping the beginning here. But I want to hear it and have them hear that this is the right thing, because sometimes you might get something wrong, and if you don't know the language, you can make mistakes. So I start here.
Awira ia wasa-wasa.
Now this is the correct correction.
Abraham anatuna isaku.
And I'll say, is that okay? And they say yes. And then I said, okay, let's start at verse 2. And then we go to verse 2.
Abraham anatuna isaku. Isaku natuna Yakobo. Yakobo natuna Yuda makanakahau.
I'm looking and listening to that. That was a small breath, but if it was a big click or something like that, I might get to 3 and I'll come to here and I'll highlight it and I'll hit the silence button, which is L, and it'll silence it. So I work my way along and then I say, okay, let's go to verse 3. And so they do kind of lose a little bit of the flow. I try not to do this too much, but in Reaper, I can do it on the fly. But in Audacity, I can't edit while it's playing.
Yuda natuna Peresi Yosera. Sinari ere Tamara. Peresi natuna Heserona. Rama natuna Aminadaba.
So we listen through it, and let's say that we made another correction right here. Okay, we want to make a correction there. So we go and we do the Shift R. We're making the correction right here. Okay, we can play it back. We're making the correction right here, and they like that. And so now we've made another correction. And so we're going to go up here and we're going to place it on the original V, and then I'm going to close this down. And so we go through and we listen to the whole thing, and we have to unmute that there. And we've listened to it all, but we've had some corrections throughout here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and I already have my noise profile, but if you want to go ahead and get a noise profile again, you can go in here, effects, and I would probably do that. And you need to make sure that there's actual noise here, because if this is a section that was silence or you recorded, there's no recording, then you're not going to get a noise profile. So make sure that there's a noise there. I can see that there's noise. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I master it again. And for some reason, if you don't like the mastering, you can go ahead and make changes, or afterwards too, you can make changes. But I prefer that they hear the corrections and the changes that you make to the mastering. So even though they might not listen to the whole chapter, let's say you thought it was too hard and you weren't going to compress it as much, make that change and then let them hear at least a section and see if that's okay. So now we have our new master track. Everybody's happy. So now all we have to do is export these, because we have the original. And the reason we export the dry original is because if you want to come back and process something, it's a lot easier to batch process it than to bring every single Audacity file open. And it could even be later on. And we've come back to files, a couple years later. And maybe I'd rather bring this up in Reaper and do the processing in Reaper. So we always want to have the dry originals with no effects, no reverbs or anything like that. We want this right here. So this is important to have this file here. And then we have the master. So then we take it and I just do my shortcut. And now I just exported the wave, the FLAC. And now it's going to ask me to put it in my labels. Remember, I set the path to go into the labels. And I hit save. And I'm done. Now that I'm done with the project, okay, I only have one chapter in here in this example, but here, if you go into here, you'll see that I have the Matthew, but you should see that all the Matthew files are here. If there's not, you need to find out where it went. And then I would make a folder for Mark if I was going to do Mark next. And then in the originals, they're empty. And in the labels here, I have my labels. And I let all my labels go into here, and I might sort them out into folders later on. But then in here, I have my FLAC and waves. Well, this isn't too bad, but when you have, a whole chapter or a whole bunch of stuff, it's really hard to sort them out. So I'm going to go up here, and all I have to do is type in FL, and then right there I have it. So you'll see all the FLACs here. I can take them, and I can Control X, cut all of them, and then I can go back to here to my FLAC masters. I go Control V, and all of them would come into here. Then I go back to my macro here, and then you should only have waves. You should be able to check, and if there's only waves, you copy that, and then you cut it. And then I go into here, and I paste them all in here. And now I'm ready for post-production. And you'll have to watch my videos on the post-production, but the post-production for my Reaper projects and for my Audacity or even Here's This is all the same. So go watch that. So that's basically a recording project from beginning to end, how I would do it in Audacity. If you found any value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share so YouTube will recommend it to others.